Hi, another video here from the Balancer. No, this is another economics video. Nihonjin data keizai, another keizai or economics video. In Japanese, economics is keizai. And this is the next in the series of our video about interest rates. And if you watch the previous video from the other day, you'll see that this number here, I've been studying the chart of the 200-year chart of the interest rates and their cycles, and we saw that the sort of average or the base rate through the last 200 years is about 6%, and it rarely does it really go above 6%. It goes up into the 8% sort of or 10% range, maybe 10% of the time, and it goes down to about the zero range about 10% of the time. And we saw that it tends to follow its cycle, so it'll be like a, let's say, a 20-year cycle down, or and a 20-year cycle up. And it tends to follow its trend. And we've seen in recent over the recent, basically the last 2 years, we saw that. Well, we even saw from 2008, we saw the trend work all the way down till it hit zero. And then over the last 18 months, we've seen it back here, accelerate here to the 6% range. And I talked about briefly in the other video how it's probably not going to correct anywhere past, let's say, if it does at this point and correct, it might go down to the 4.5 or 4.75% sort of range, and then probably, I would think, go on its way above the 6%. I don't know. We don't know. Okay. But the chances of it going really much lower than 5% are almost slim and none, because over the last 200 years, we saw that it hit zero or was under zero for 20 years, which was a 10% chance. And we saw that the differentiation in the periods was a 70-year period between when it was zero before and when it was zero again. So the fact that the likelihood that it's going to be zero again is very, very slim. And we saw as well, oh, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I'm sorry, but anyhow, the 6% sort of rate is a very important one, and we're at it right now. And I guess really in the bond market, you see it moving down a little bit. And there's a real sort of movement right now with saying paid to wait, and that's kind of true, because in some ways, the you're getting 6% of your money, and if you look over the last 200 years, that's basically the average rate that you'd get, and it's quickly come back to 6%. So if you went into some sort of bonds and of some sort of time, or a GIC. I was talking to my friend Former Fifth the other day. He's into GICs, okay. And I guess I was looking at one that's called Blue Shore Financial, and they have a 1-year GIC, or guaranteed investment certificate, for 6.1%. Okay. However, what this video, I want to talk about the weakness to this idea that you're being paid to wait. And this is kind of a tricky thing to explain. This is kind of just my opinion, but I'm of the opinion that inflation in some ways is running probably around 12 to 15% right now. Okay. And in actuality, okay, we have the government statistics and what have you are trying to print the inflation right now. Or if you go to the Steve Saretsky channel, he's going to give you this sort of straight mainstream video or mainstream media sort of jerk off take on anything. There's nothing edgy there at all. It's just a bunch of bullshit, and they give you the line that the central bankers are printing, which is, oh, we're down to almost 3% inflation. Really, you believe that? I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that when they said that there's a 2% target. I think the 2% target means 7% target. That's me. And the weakness in holding the paper right now is, if let's say that I'm overestimating. Let's say I'm overestimating, and it isn't 12%. The actual inflation is 9 or 10%. Okay, that means even at 9 or 10% right now, you're you're taking on a minus 4% like interest rate. So you're losing money right now. So it's my opinion right now that the central banks have manipulated us into what I call screw us, screw the working people or everything, investors, because what happens, they have the inflation running at 12, 15, maybe even 18% sometimes, okay? And they're paying out 6% for their paper. So they're winning. So they're winning. So what happens if you are a follower of this channel, if you've watched any other videos of mine, right? I always think it's a mistake to go one way. I always think it's a mistake to go all the way in. It's like my fitness videos that we're always interested in balancing, which is finding the sweet spot, holding it there. You see, I'm swinging the ball around, but the ball sits here in the sweet spot. Okay, so we're trying to balance everything we do. Okay, so the approach of sticking all your money, okay, into a 6% GIC right now is actually a bad thing. I'm not saying that, like for example, Canadian real estate, I believe is going to contract, right? Let's say the price of the house right now is at I I keep seeing this stuff on kind of vlogs and stuff like that, like a Surrey house right now being a bare minimum Surrey house right now is $1.1 million. Well, maybe something like that is going to come down to, I think realistically, you talk to like the ultimate bears, they're like it's going to go down to 400,000. No, something like that is worth 400, 500,000 on the base level, right? But I can see something going from $1.2 million down to 850,000. That's what's possible. Okay, so if an investment like that is deflating, then being in paper at that point in time, waiting for that point where you're comfortably pull the trigger and pick up the deflating asset at a cheaper price, then it's worth it. Okay. However, if you're just holding a lot of paper as I hold, okay, I have a lot of paper right now from my other companies. They print money every month, okay, and then to put them all this money in paper is kind of foolish. I think in some ways you need to in something. One of the best ways to fight this sort of negative interest rate of -4% or -5, 6, 7%. You don't know what it is, but we're in a position right now where you're going to receive a minus interest rate on this paper. So it's always good to be in hard assets. Okay, so if you don't know what to go in the stock market, I happen to think the stock market was overrated, like totally overvalued, right? And it has reverted to the mean at one point, right? But there might be some sectors in the stock market that you like. But if there's going to be a sort of a broad-based sort of sell-off, then that sector is going to go down as well. So yeah, it's tough. It's like there's going to be some deflation. So you're going to be in. It's weird. There's like prices that are deflating, but there's always like opportunities that things that you can jump into. Hard assets are always good in sort of other ways. And even at least if you're in a hard asset, call it a Mitsubishi Delica, like I mean Japanese cars, right, or Volkswagen buses, right. This kind of 12% inflation rate is going to really it's going to really be protected if you're in a hard asset. I was looking at these Volkswagen buses in Brazil off this one page. I've been looking at this one page on Instagram for years, and they used to sell the perfectly mint split window Brazilian buses for $40,000. I saw them today; they were $48,000. So I like the Volkswagen buses, for example, is going to hold against inflation. It's not going to bring you cash. I'm not saying that this GIC model is not a bad one either, but the weakness inherent in it is over the inflation numbers. You're receiving probably a -4%. So let's say you have a paid off house like this apartment that I live here. You see the Royal Bank of Canada right there you go, in the background, top of that building, right? This is all paid for by me, so there's no leverage on it. It's totally protected. So it's totally like a great inflation hedge where I can live, right? So yeah, fuck you, Royal Bank. There you go, by the way. And so Hard assets are always a great strategy against this sort of situation right now, which we're in right now. So keep in mind that you watch like Market Mania, and he'd be like, "You're paid to wait, you're getting paid to wait, but you're paid to wait, but you're also getting screwed by inflation." So it's a good idea to be in sort of hard assets or find there's like broad sort of markets, but there's also like always as people are getting squeezed by the higher mortgage interest rates, right? You see that they have to sell off some of their luxury items so they can maintain their financing or maintain their lifestyle. So, like for example, I'm looking right now for Airstream trailers, which I'd like to import back in Japan, and in the future in Kyoto, I'm hoping in one of these Airstream trailers or a school bus that I could have a cafe or a shop in Kyoto or somewhere in Japan. Anyhow, this is another video here by the Balancer, the Tokyo real estate man, and just looking at the negative interest rates that you would receive right now from jumping into GICs, and just a discussion about that. Okay, cool. Thank you for watching.